To get started, you want to take your cords and your button and thread your cords onto your button. If you're using a more traditional button, you can just divide your cord between the buttonholes equally, but because I'm just using one with one space at the back, I'm just going to thread them all through. Once you've threaded your cord onto the button, make sure all the cords are equal length at either side, and then you can clip the button to the top of your board. And then take one cord to either side and then clip the rest to the bottom of your board. And then you want to do a couple of square knots just to secure everything in place. So you want to go over, over and through. And then under, under and through. You can do this as many times as you like. Next you want to remove the cords from the bottom of the board and then divide them equally. And then taking one side at a time, you want to take the two centre cords and attach them to the bottom of the board, keeping two free. And then repeat this at the other side. And then working one side at a time, you want to do square knots over the cords that are clipped to the bottom of the board. And I'm going to do two square knots at each side here. So once you've done your two knots at the first side, you can then switch and do the same thing at the other side. And once you've done your first two square knots, you want to take the two centre cords and thread on one of your largest beads. And then run the bead down the cord and put it against the square knots. And then taking the first one of your outside cords, you want to add your smaller beads. Now I'm going to put 4 on either side here, but that's just because it suits the size of the beads that I'm using. You might want to adapt this if you've got different sized beads. And once you've done the first side, you can switch sides and put 4 beads, or however many you're using, onto the other side. Once you've threaded on all your beads, you want to repeat your first step and do 2 square knots over both sides of your holding cords. Once you've done the first side, repeat on the second. So once you get your square knots at both sides, you want to take your centre cords again and insert your large bead. And position that against the knots. And then take one of your outside cords and add your 4 beads. And you want to repeat this at the other side, and then you just want to keep doing these steps over and over until you've got the necklace as long as you want it to be. And once you've got your necklace as long as you want it, you want to position your last set of beads, but instead of doing 2 square knots at either side, you want to take all the cords in the centre and clip them to the bottom of the board, except for the 2 outside cords. And then taking the 2 outside cords, you want to fasten everything in place with a few square knots. You can use as many or as few as you want here. So next you want to remove the cords from the board and then divide them by 2. And you want to take half of these and reattach them to the bottom of your board, again leaving the outside cord free. And then you're going to work hitch knots to create your buttonhole. So you want to go over and through and then under and through until the buttonhole's as large as you need it to be. And how big you want this is going to depend on the size of your buttons, so it's a good idea to measure as you go along. And once you've done the first half of your buttonhole, you can remove those cords from the bottom of the board and then repeat the steps on the other side, making sure that you do the same amount of hitch knots at this side as you did at the other side. Once you've done both sides of your buttonhole, you can take the centre cords and reattach them to the bottom of your board, making sure to leave the outside cords free. And then you want to do a few square knots to close up your buttonhole. You can do as many or as few as you want here. And once you've done your last square knot, you can remove your necklace from the board. And now I'm going to trim and seal the tail ends. So I'm using a lighter here, but you can use glue if you prefer. And once you finish, you should end up with something that looks like this. You just fasten using the buttonhole that you made. And that's your completed necklace.